All right, well, good Thursday morning. Um, we elected to give Twinkie the day off yesterday. Um, and yesterday I did a little video of Aurora just to kind of show you the different the difference in horses. Mostly just I didn't want to point out that this horse is behind or that the other one is superior in any way, shape, or form. I just really want to document over the course of time that this filly might take a little bit longer to get going, but it doesn't mean that she is behind. And I see a lot of people talk about 2-year-olds, and these are still yearlings. I mean, these are little bitty babies. We're truly we're pushing our boundaries every year more and more to start these things sooner and sooner. Like I mean, we've seen people starting them as early as September, and not that I'm necessarily have a stance or an opinion on that. It's just, you know, I like to get mine started in the fall. Obviously, I like to put a handful of rods on them and get them going around, and then put them up for a little while and let them kind of absorb it and whatever. Just because the weather's in our favor, it's a lot more pleasant to be out here. And as you can tell, our weather right now is being very bipolar. One day I'm out here in a jacket and a vest and my chaps on, and then the next day I'm out here with a t-shirt. So, but generally in fall we have a lot better window of weather to work in than in wintertime. It's windy and cold and kind of miserable. So it's always nice to kind of get them rolling. But when I see people starting them in as early as September, it just really depends. I mean, if the horse is big enough and mature enough, obviously, yeah, sure, knock yourself out, go for it. But for me, I just think it's just we're just getting a tick earlier every year. Next thing you know, we're gonna have sliding plates on them by November. And again, I'm not trying to have a stance against it or anything like that. I'm not trying to discredit what other people do. But for me, I think right now is still borderline too early. I think it's good to have some handle on them. I think it's good to work with them and get them prepared for their riding career this early in the game. But I'm not necessarily wanting to get on these things and have them just riding around and starting to turn and starting to go to the ground and doing all that other stuff. I think it's just getting a little bit worse every year I see. So again, I'm not trying to discredit anything anybody else does, but I just think having a little bit of sense of people saying that a horse is behind, it's like, well, compared to what? Yes, if you're expecting them to be riding around and turning around by November, yeah, sure, she is behind. But realistically speaking, we have a long time to the futurity, and now we've made so many extra programs where they don't even have to make futurity horses anymore. They can be 4-year-olds, or they have novice derbies, or they have 8 and up classes now. So these things can go on for quite a while. So for me to risk to risk starting one too early and risking injury, or risking just mental injury, to me is kind of counterintuitive. Just because I think we are trying to make it to where we have longevity. So to start them earlier and earlier and show them longer and longer, to me, it just isn't adding up. But that's just my opinion. So that said, I do have a couple of them riding around, but you'll notice my rides, and as we get further into this filly, you'll notice my rides are more based on just getting some basic handle, just making sure everything's just smooth and as easy for them as we can make it. And I will, once we get this filly kind of rolling around a little bit, we already talked to her owner and said, hey, what's going on over there? Okay. Where my dogs are on the hunt over there. Nice. So, all right, we have a little Jack Rat Terrier she's, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, and it's just this year she's finally starting to get good at hunting. So, ranch life has served her well. Excuse the cutaway there. But like I was saying, with this filly, once we get this filly going around, the plan is to give her a month off or however long off, to let her absorb everything and move forward in her training later. So we just want to set her up now for an easier time in the new year or early spring to really kind of start focusing on turning this horse into a reining horse if she sees fit to be a reining horse, that is. So anyway, I'll quit rambling on and we'll just kind of get right into it. We're going to saddle her up. She was easier to catch today, which for me is always kind of a tell. She might be just a little bit easier to work with, but as me and her owner like to joke continuously, is you just never know with Twinkie. She's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. So right here, I can just tell she's kind of wanting to be just a little bit funny here, so I'm not going to set myself up for failure. I'm going to readjust where she'll stand still. Because we want, although I'm not going to get after her for having a little bit of movement or anything like that, over the course of time, we obviously want to improve our saddling process. We want eventually for her to just stand here, let me cinch her up, and then we'll just walk right off. So again, we're not looking for trouble here. We're looking to make life easier for everybody. Whoa. So here I'm going to start. Hey. So see right there how she tensed up? I'm going to have a little bit of something to say about that because that's just a little bit rude how she just moved into me. So I'm going to have something to say about that. As you can see, the discipline wasn't very harsh, but it was like, hey, wake up. I'm standing right here. You know where I am. You're allowed to be a little bit reactive, but you're not allowed to run over me. That's not on the menu today. So you can see the punishment fit the crime. She wasn't horrible, but she wasn't ideal either. So I'm going to darn sure say, hey, you're not allowed to run into me. That's not on our bingo card for today. So she's going to be a little bit reactive, I can tell already. So we're going to just move her around like we did last time and make sure she's respecting our space and making sure we can make her move her feet without incident. And then we just switch sides. Make her yield this way. And again, I will accept this to some degree as long as we're working towards less and less of a reaction every time we saddle her. I am willing to meet her in the middle as long as she respects my space and as long as she starts respecting my cues that when I tell her, hey, You need to yield to me and step through. You can see I'm not going to make a huge deal out of anything with this filly, but she does need to respect some boundaries. And like I said in the beginning, we're trying to make this process easier every time. So every day we have to show a little bit of progress. So I'm going to snug her up quite a bit here because I want to start getting her a little more acclimated to how tight that saddle is going to be when I ride her. Whether I ride her in the next 10 minutes or whether I ride her in the next 10 months. She needs to start working towards so all this stuff is just her not liking that cinch. And she's just weighing her options. So she popped her front feet off the ground and tried to pull a little bit of a wheelie there, which isn't really natural for a horse, but I was kind of blocking her forward motion there. So she didn't really have anywhere to go but up because she knew if she ran into me, there was going to be a barrier there. I should have been off to the side a little more to allow her to move forward through there, but I was in her way. And that's why this is so important that she just starts to learn how to deal with this stuff without being too reactive, because scenarios are never going to be perfect. You know, if we're waiting for perfect, we're going to be here forever. So she needs to start learning how to not be so reactive in the beginning. Right here, we're starting to settle. So I'm going to turn her loose again. And we might get a little bit of a show. We might not. I'm just not sure. But we're going to find out together. So like last time, I'm just going to send her around me. And I'm just going to shut down any excessive forward motion just yet, because I don't mind forward momentum. It just has to be in a little bit of a relaxed manner. But again, we're starting to deal with things. There's a wall there, Twinkie. We're starting to deal with things in a much better manner. Okay, pretty good. So this is all going very well. I mean, you can see for yourself. She's not what I would call the poster child for being relaxed right now, but she's also not. We haven't lost her. She's still paying attention to me. She's checking in. Her ear is on me. I don't know how well you can see, but her ear hasn't left me yet. So I'm going to step in front. There you go. Nice little transition there. So this is the most important part for me, is that this filly's just checking in constantly. She's just here. And now we're starting to develop a little bit more of a relationship of, all right, I'm uncomfortable, but this guy seems to know the way out. So maybe I need to start checking in with him to find out what our next step is. So So I just encourage her to keep moving forward, keep moving forward. I call this the Dory stage, where they just keep swimming. You know, the only way through it is to just keep on going. Just start burning off some nervous energy and start using your brain more. There we go. Nice little switch there. So this is the monotonous stage. This is, as you can see, we're kind of dealing with the same thing day in and day out with this filly. Every time we work her, we have to deal with her being a little bit explosive when we first saddle her up. And there's not really a whole lot to do other than to just keep working at it. Is to start, applying more, start exercising more use of boundaries and raise our expectations a little bit every day. But if I was to just force feed this mare into saying, hey, today's the day I'm going to ride you, or today's the day I'm going to saddle you for the first time, or today's the day, if I choose the narrative on what we're going to do today, I'm never truly going to gain this filly's trust in what I'm trying to show her. I'm never going to gain a good relationship with this filly by forcing her to do something. If I really, really, really wanted to get on this filly, I could be on her by now. I could have four-way hobbled her or snubbed her up to a post or whatever. And I mean, there's a lot of things we can do to make it happen. But the further and further I get into training horses, the less I care about making it happen. I want to let it happen. I want things to happen on this filly's terms. That doesn't mean I'm going to be a doormat for this filly. It doesn't mean she's going to get away with whatever she feels like doing that day. She has to meet me in the middle, but I also have to step to her and meet her in the middle as well. So if she wants to be a little bit tight to saddle every day, that's just on me to keep working with her and reassuring her that you're making a much bigger deal out of this than it is. See, like the more you get along, the easier your life gets. Yeah, we're working hard. I'm making you move around. I'm making you do stuff. But as long as you're relaxed and you're just going along and doing your thing, it's really not that hard for you. Things are easy for this filly. I can tell she's athletic already. Things are just super easy for her. So her going around and loping and trotting isn't a big deal. But she has to get over this saddle being on her in order for me to have any success down the road. So again, we're just in a much better frame of mind. And as time continues, that little moment she has when we first saddle her up will get less and less. Because as you can see, the amount of time it takes for her to settle in now has improved tremendously. From start to finish, this filly settles into where she's carrying herself around nice. She's relaxed. She's moving her lips. She's moving her ears. She's keeping an ear on me. She's moving forward willingly. When I start closing the gap, she breaks down really nice and faces up and switches sides. There's no real drama once we get past the initial saddle. So I'm not going to make too big of a deal. I just got to have the faith that as time continues that'll get easier. And see how she's just in a rush to come see me now. That means that we're starting to develop more of a, hey, I guess you weren't so bad after all. You know, you do offer me some comfort whenever I'm worried about something. And when I'm good, when I want to come in here and be affectionate, you're more than happy to be affectionate. So I think it's important that we start building this relationship and making it stronger before I start worrying about what she can do for me. If I just up and decide, like, all right, I've had enough of being patient with you, I'm going to ride you today. Like I said, there are a lot of things that we can do to expedite me getting on this filly's back. And believe me, I want to get on this filly. I want to start riding her. I want to start riding her around because I think she's going to be incredibly cool to ride. But right now, my main concern is just making this filly want to do the job. She has to want to do it. And if I start forcing the issue, I'm going to take that want to away. And yeah, I can make her for a little while, but long term, making this filly is going to backfire on me dramatically. So working with her and moving her along and just challenging her to come my direction just a little bit more every day is going to be beneficial for me long term. Believe me, there's nothing more I want to do than to get on this filly and have her walk, trot, lope around this square pen so you guys can pat me on the back and go, hooray, Colin, you did such a good job. But that's going to end up happening. It's just going to be on her timeline, not mine. So last time I quit her pretty early because it was such a drastic change. But like I said, we're going to be very fair with her as far as what we're going to put upon her every day as far as challenging her mentally and making her progress. But I'm not going to overload our wagon by going too far, but I do want to up her. I do want to lengthen the amount of acceptance I can get out of her. So last time when she finally settled in, I quit her really quick because I was like, all right, this is what we need to be hunting. But then you got to be careful with that as well, because if you just quit them quick constantly, and then when you ask for a little bit more, when you need a little bit more, sometimes that little bit more turns into So we have to continually increase our expectations, but we have to do it in a very fair manner. We have to do it in a manner where it's fair for her and reasonable for me. You know, we need to make sure that everything we do with this filly helps us for tomorrow. So we're working her just a little bit harder today. And it's, as you can see, we're not necessarily trying to force anything upon her. It's just, all right, now you're starting to accept that saddle. Now I want you to accept it just for a little bit longer now. I want you to be okay with it for just a little bit longer. I want you to be able to stop and take a break. And then when I ask you to carry on again, I want you to be able to carry on in the manner that we just quit on. So where you ended on before your break is where I want you to start. And the more we get into that, I think the quicker we'll have her hunting. Okay, if I just come out here and do my job, it's really not that bad. And you can work them hard. There's nothing against working one hard and challenging them mentally and everything. It's just there has to be some sort of give and take there. So if she come out and she was just extremely, so see how she beat me there a couple times? I let her away with turning away from me 2 or 3 times, and now she's going to she's like, I see a hole. So I'm going to address that because I do want her to come to me. I don't want her to run away from me because she's very impressionable. So if you give her an inch, she will take a mile. Doesn't mean she's going to be in trouble. Just means so I'm going to keep setting that scenario up until she chooses a different path. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Good girl. So I know this is a little bit long, and I know it's probably a little bit repetitive, but I want to show you the reality of it. This is what we're going to have to do with this filly. We have to lengthen her acceptance of what we're trying to do, but we have to be very reasonable in our expectations every day. So until this filly will come out and just let me saddle her, and she'll start the way we're finishing now, there's not much point in me moving on to the next step. So if I was to skip a step on this filly, like I said, if I really, really, really wanted to get on this filly right now, there's a lot of things I can do to make that happen. But it's not going to help me long term. This filly has to accept everything. And it's not and it's our job to manage what's acceptable. So for me, she's not willing to accept the cinch in the very beginning just yet. And at a certain point, that might just be the way God made her, and we might just have to just do a little work around that. We might have to adjust what we're doing. But right now, I'm seeing signs that it is going to get better. So until we see some drastic improvement on the very moment we cinch her up, I'm not willing to move on to the next step. I want to make sure that the foundation we build our house on is very solid, because otherwise we're not going to have a very sound house in a windstorm if we don't. So as these horses progress through the years and throughout their training, their job is going to add more detail, more pressure. It's going to be harder physically, harder mentally. So if we bypass steps in the beginning, that is going to always resurface when you at the very moment you don't need it to resurface. So if we just skip through this stuff and just like, nope, we're just going to make you do this right now, it's going to show up in Oklahoma City right before the second go of the futurity, and you need that much more because you need to mark a 222 to make the level 4 open finals, and you go to grab that much more, and it's going to unravel. And I'm not saying that, sure enough, but it always seems to go that way. Is that one little thing you passed over or skipped over seems to always come back and bite you in the butt when you don't need it to. So I'm willing to take a little extra time here for the greater good later. So whoever's getting her ready to show, this doesn't show back up when the pressure's on. I want to make sure that when the pressure's on, she knows how to deal with everything in a sound manner where she can take it and use it. So anyway, like I said, I don't want this to be so repetitive to where you guys are just like, holy smokes, Colin, just shut up and get on her. But I just really, really want a raw view for you guys to see what I am actually going to do with a horse like this. I don't want to skip through all this stuff and just one day we turn the camera on and I'm just loping around outside and going, oh, third ride for Twinkie. I want you to see everything that goes into taking a horse that's like this. Sorry, honey. Taking a horse that's like this and turning her into a productive member of society. So anyway, I hope y'all enjoy it. I hope it's not too long-winded. But again, if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to message me. Thank you.